Guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't judge me because it is currently after 7 o'clock at night. I have had this makeup on since 6 o'clock this morning. I've worked all day, I'm tired, and I just sat down to edit this video and I was like, I don't have an intro. So here is your intro. Welcome to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Mandy Davis. I am a professional makeup artist in the Nashville area, and I love all things beauty, skincare, makeup, all the fun stuff. So if you're new to this channel, be sure and subscribe before you leave and hit that notification bell. Today, I am doing a client look for y'all. And this is a little bit different because this is not technically a client. This is a very good friend of mine. And she has been asking me for ages to teach her how to do makeup. She has used the same products for years, and she needed some tips on new products, what would be good for her skin, what's something easy for her to do. So I'm kind of making this like a beginner video, even though she's not a beginner at makeup, but she is kind of beginning again in a sense. Like she's starting over, she wants some new products, she wanted to learn some new techniques. She wanted to do something a little bit different. So that is what we're doing. I'm keeping it very easy, but I'm going to take you step by step and of course tell you all the products that I'm using, why I chose them. Let's go ahead and jump into this look right now. Okay, so as I probably talked about in the intro, I have already prepped her skin and primed her eyes. Now, Julie has already talked to me about all of the kind of stuff that she's wanting to get out of today, and one of the main things was having her makeup last all day and also eyeshadow techniques. Now, I don't want to send her home with a huge list of things that she has to go out and buy, so I'm going to try to keep the amount of products low, but teach her techniques at the same time. So she also said that she has trouble with fallout with her eyeshadow, so what I'm going to do first is do your eyes first. And that's one thing that I find helps, because if you do have fallout, you can clean it up and then go in with your face makeup versus taking off face makeup you've already put on. Yeah. Does that make sense? All right, so we're going to go ahead and start on her eyes, and I'm actually going to use all face products that I plan on using on her face, except for maybe an eyeliner. Okay, so this is my bronzer palette that I carry in my kit, and I have all 4 of the Hoola bronzer shades, and I'm just going to use the original Hoola on her, and I'm going to take it on a fluffy brush like this. And I'm going to start out putting it in your crease. So your crease is where you put the brush, it kind of disappears right there in that socket. That's your crease. I'm stamping it on because I don't care if it gets on the lid too. I'm actually putting it everywhere. And I'm going to go back and forth and then put a little bit on your lid, back and forth. And I'm almost going all the way up to her brow. I'm going to blend that out a little bit and have a little bit of space left, but I really want this to be a washed out color on her. Now, Julie typically wears very cool toned grays and silvers, and she was wanting something a little bit different. So I'm going into the warmer tones with her today. So I'm putting it all over the lid. Okay, and I know if you've watched my channel, you've seen this technique done a lot, but again, remember that Julie is somewhat of a newbie to makeup, so I'm wanting to keep this simple for her. And again, less products, so you're not overwhelmed and don't feel like you have to go out and buy a ton of stuff. So I am gonna use a little bit of a highlight on your face, and right now I think I'm gonna use this one, so I'm gonna use it on your eye. And it is the Jane Iredale, it's actually an eyeshadow. So it's meant to go on the eye, but I like to use it on the face as well. What I like to do is cover the whole eye with bronzer. You can definitely leave it like it is. If she wanted an all matte look, pop on maybe a little darker color in the outer corner, some eyeliner, and be good to go. But if she wants to add a little bit of luminosity, I like to take this eyeshadow or whatever highlight you're using on a flat shader brush and just kind of put it in the middle of your mobile lid. So your mobile lid is basically that part that opens and closes as you blink throughout the day. So I'm not doing a ton, and this can go for any shimmer eyeshadow that you have. There's no right or wrong color, and you can build it up like you want to, but I just want to put a little bit right there in the center. And again, once we get done with everything, if I want to go back and add something, I can, but right now this is kind of the starting point to what we're doing. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of liner because she does like liner. Now she was asking me how to do powder liner, like with eyeshadow. So I'm going to do a little bit of a two-step. I'm going to use a pencil liner. This is the MAC pencil liner that I call in Costa Riche. And I'm going to put this and I'm going to smudge it just. Start out here on the outer corner. And I'm going to pull it up just a little bit. We're not doing like a wing, but I do want to give the illusion of a little bit of a pulled up line. And then see how I'm just kind of, or do you feel how I'm just kind of going back and forth? Versus putting the pencil on and trying to do one long stripe. It's much easier to stamp little sections at a time. And then what I like to do is go in with a darker shadow. Now, if she doesn't have a darker shadow, and since I just have this palette out, I'm going to go in with the darkest Hoola bronzer. And I'm going to take that on a very skinny brush. This is the Sephora number 18. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to do the same kind of back and forth motions. And I'm going to take that outside corner just a little bit up. Again, I'm not trying to do a wing, but I want that illusion of a lifted eye. And that's kind of how you're going to get that. And then just kind of, you're basically doing the same area that you put the pencil in with the powder. So you're essentially setting that pencil. So it's not going to go anywhere throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And then, but see how it's subtle?
Yes.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And you could definitely do that with just
I think it almost looks better than the liquid I use.
Yeah. It's less harsh. And I feel like anytime, you're a little bit softer on the eyes, it's better. Okay, now that's the extent of what we're doing with the eyes right now. So what I'm going to do is, if she has a little bit of fallout out here on the outer corner, which I did not worry about being super clean because that's the whole reason we did the eyes first, right? I wanted to show her the benefit of doing it before the face makeup. Instead of going under with like a makeup wipe, I like to go in with a little bit of eye cream on a Q-tip. You could do a tissue too, and then just kind of use that to pick up any fallout. So what you're doing is you're taking away things you don't want while putting down moisture and things that you do want. Versus using a makeup wipe that's really wasteful anyways, and it's kind of defeating the purpose because you're using something that's meant to take makeup off when you're about to put makeup on. Sometimes I feel like they don't work well together, and the concealer doesn't really work well under eyes that have just had a makeup wipe under it. So I like to do this technique. But see all of that?
Oh yeah.
That came, I don't know if you're able to see, all of that came from underneath her eyes. So instead of messing up her foundation and concealer, we have, made sure that that's clean by doing her eyes first. So now we're going to go on to the skin. What do you like in a foundation? Do you like super full coverage? Do you like light buildable coverage? Do you like breathable, dewy, matte, or do you just not know?
I don't know.
Okay.
But, I never wear anything I feel like super heavy.
Right.
But,
And you don't, she's got good skin. You have some freckles and then you have a couple of spots. Now, the spots, do you like for those to be covered up or do you care if they show through?
They probably covered them up.
Probably cover them up? Okay. So what we are going to do, my favorite face concealer is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. Comes in a pot. I love this for the skin. I feel like if you're trying to cover up blemishes, it's the best way to go. What I like to do is I like to put a little bit on underneath the foundation and then go back in if I need to, if I feel like I need to, on top. And when I say a little bit, a little bit. I'm taking a BK Beauty 207 brush. It's a little pencil brush, and I'm picking up just a tiny amount, and I'm just going to press it into the areas that she may want extra coverage on, because the foundation or base product that I'm going to use on her is not full coverage. She's got good skin. I don't want her trying to mask it. And she doesn't really have a ton that she needs to do this with, so it shouldn't take long at all. And then I'm just using my finger to lightly tap it out and help blend it in. So not much at all, but that kind of took care of that beforehand. Now, her under eye circles. She has always told me that she really has a hard time finding products that are going to cover those well. I struggle with under eye circles myself, so I am well equipped to help her in this area. I'm going to use the Fit Glow Beauty Corrector in Peach. When you have darkness like this, you're just going to want to try to find something that has a peach or orange undertone. I like peach because it tends to brighten along with correcting versus orange. Sometimes can be a little harder to cover up and it will peek throughout the day. It's not as brightening. I just feel like peach is a little bit better. So I'm going to take a little bit of that. And now you obviously, it comes in a doe foot. So you could obviously put that doe foot right under your eyes. You don't have to get like a separate brush for it. I'm only doing that for kit and sanitation purposes. But I'm putting this, tapping it right under her eye. And I'm going all the way up to the lash line because her darkness goes all the way up to the lash line. Some people only have darkness right in here in the inner corner, and that's the only place you would need to put it. I'm putting it everywhere where her darkness is shown. So you can see how much that brightens up versus the other side. So just that has really brightened up her under eyes, makes her look more awake. I like to do this step underneath foundation. You could definitely do it, over. There's no right or wrong. This is just how I tend to do it. Okay, for base product, she doesn't want anything too heavy. I want to give her something that's really easy, something she could put on with her fingers, a brush, doesn't matter. I wouldn't use a sponge with this one per se, just because of the texture of it. It's actually technically not a foundation. Okay. It's the Bare Minerals Complexion Rescue Tinted Hydrating Gel Cream for every day and even for going out. I mean, I have worn this at night a lot and love it. This is a stellar product. It comes out like a gel. It's got SPF 30. And I like to, when I'm doing it on myself, I almost just use fingers a lot of the time. And then I might go in to buff it out with a brush. I like to start with a brush when I'm using it on clients. And so usually I like to stipple foundation in, but this one I just like to kind of buff in or use my fingers to start. The consistency is way different than a typical foundation. It's almost cooling when it goes on. It's very light coverage. It's light to medium coverage at best. This is an old MAC 159. They don't sell this exact brush anymore. Again, this is the type of product that you're just going to figure out what works best. This is not like event makeup. I've done a look on my channel before and people were like, oh my goodness, it's 1,800 steps. I'm like, well, yeah, because that's what I would do on like a client that came and paid me for event, right? This is every day. I want to know good products that work for me and my skin and are going to serve a purpose. And this is an excellent product. I've talked about it for years. This is good coverage for me and what I'm wanting right now. Now we're going to go into a concealer. And I have said many, many times, I much prefer starting out with a lighter coverage foundation and then going over where I need to with concealer than I do starting over and thinking I need full coverage all over the face. So I'm going to use one of my favorite, well, I say one of my favorite. It is my favorite concealer of all time. And it's by Clinique. And it is the Even Better All Over Concealer and Eraser. And I am going to use this underneath her eyes. I'm going to use it on her face, like around her nose, where she may need a little bit extra coverage. This is, I was talking to her before. This is where I think maybe some of her issues with darker circles are coming from, because she uses a much lighter color than this is. This is very much her skin tone. When you are struggling with dark circles, I feel like if you go lighter, you can almost accentuate them. Even if you color correct, they can pop out throughout the day and become accentuated. Whereas if you go skin tone, I feel like they stay corrected and concealed more throughout the day. So I think she's going to see, I'm just going to go a little bit around the nose, that this is definitely a darker color than she's used to using, because she showed me her current concealer. But again, this is going to give a less ashy effect to the under eye, therefore looking like it has more coverage. This is definitely not a step that she would necessarily do every day, but I know that she has talked about wanting to do kind of cream contour or cream bronzer and just kind of see what it's like. So I'm just going to show her. I'm going to put powder bronzer on top too, but this is the Danessa Myricks Contour Balm in the shade Medium 2. So when I do contour or bronzer, I really just want to do a little bit around the forehead. Now, you don't have the biggest forehead, so I don't want to go necessarily a ton in the middle. I just want to concentrate over on this side. and especially on your temples. And I'm using a really fluffy brush. This is actually a blush brush. I find that the denser brushes you use, the harder it can be to kind of blend out, per se. Now with bronzer, cream, or powder, I like to do a 3 and an E. So I like to do the perimeter of your forehead, and then I like to keep bringing it down kind of on the cheekbone, because I'm not contouring per se. You don't need contour, but I'm just warming it up. So I'm bringing it like right on top of that cheekbone, blending it out, and then I will come down and do it on the jaw and blend it down the neck. We're going to set. She says she does not use powder, but she has also told me that she feels like her makeup does not last throughout the day. And I think that's the main reason why, is because you're not setting it. And she feels like her dark circles come through throughout the day, but she's not setting her under eyes. So I think it's really important that you do that so that it does not crease or crack or move throughout the day. So I'm going to take this little mini of the Hourglass Veil translucent setting powder, and I'm taking a very, very fluffy eyeshadow brush. This is also key. When you're setting your under eye, you do not need to use a lot of powder, like at all. You are also going to set what is there. So before you do anything, make sure that you kind of tap out any creases. You didn't really have any. Really tap off that brush and just tap the powder into the eye. Okay, now she could definitely use this same powder on her face, but I'm going to use an old favorite of mine, and this is from MAC, and it's the Mineralized Skin Finish. This leaves such a gorgeous finish on the skin. You don't need a lot. This is a medium tan. It has a little bit of a shade, so you're not going to want to go too dark or too light, but it's not like a powder foundation. It's not adding a ton of coverage. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to set the whole face, and I'm just going to take a brush and basically stipple it. And stippling just means like patting it, stamping it in. This is not matte. There's nothing matte about it. You're going to keep that real nice, like dewy, luminous finish on the skin, but you're setting your makeup and it's not going to budge throughout the day. I feel like you're going to really notice the difference today in how your makeup wears versus other days. Now, she does not need any extra bronzer. I'm just going to lightly dust that same bronzer that we used on her face, or on her eyes, the original Hoola bronzer, over the same area that I did the Danessa Myricks. Because when you're not doing that cream contour, I just wanted to show you that's how you do it. This is, what you would use for bronzer. And again, it's one less product because we used it on her eyes. And I'm using the same brush for bronzer as I did for powder, so she's not having to worry about keeping a ton of brushes in her collection. Now, I'm going to use that same eyeshadow in Allure as highlight. This is not something you have to do every day. You can see that, the pretty luminosity from the base products are catching the light anyways, but I'm just showing her all the options. But I like to go right here on the top of the cheekbones, because that's where the light will hit you. Like when you go and when you move your face, that's where the light hits first. And I just like to stamp it in, just to give a little bit more luminosity. Can you see in the viewfinder? Yeah. But this is probably my favorite face highlight. And I love that it doubles as an eyeshadow. Yeah, really, it's an eyeshadow that doubles as a face highlight.
So it's like a 2-in-1.
Yes. Now for blush, I'm going to use one of my favorite blushes. This is Jane Iredale in Sheer Honey. I'm again going to use the same brush. I'm just showing her you don't need this huge brush collection, because she comments every time she comes into my house, she's like, all these brushes. And I'm like, look, this is just because I'm an addict. It's not because you need it. Now I'm going to add a little bit of blush. I like to do highlight before blush because it gives that lit from within glow. And I like to honestly start up at the hairline versus down here and work my way down right in between that bronzer and the highlight. And I don't like to go much farther than kind of where I'm stopping right here. This is a nice warm color. What color blushes do you use now? Do you have like a pink or a...
Yeah, pinkish.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. And so I wanted to give her another option. But you see how it gives a little bit of color to her cheeks? It's not overwhelming. It mixes really well with that bronzer, and I'm putting it over the highlight a little bit, see? so that highlight is not going to be as crazy. And a lot of you have seen me do this technique on myself and other people, but I am going to take this same blush and I'm going to use it a little bit on the eyes. So you can keep your eyes open, look straight ahead, and I'm just going to take it right there on a little above where I put the bronzer in the crease, just to give, it really helps bring the whole look together, because I'm taking that same shade from the cheek up into your eyes, but it also gives a little bit more dimension. It's not as neutral. You got a little bit of color going on your eyes. You want to look in the...
Oh, yeah.
See, I was just very subtle. And I will do this with any blush color. That's a good thing about the look that we did. It's so neutral in the eyes that even if you did have like a pinkish blush, you could easily go up and do that. Face is done. Very pretty. I mean, do you feel like you could achieve this look?
Yes.
At home? It's not hard,
no,
right?
Not near as hard as I thought it was.
Right. Yeah. She was like, I just don't know how you do it. Do you spend like 45 minutes on your makeup? I'm like, no. Once you get it down and you figure out the techniques, it does not have to be time consuming or hard. Now, one thing she also really wanted to know was how to put eyeshadow on the under eyes, which if y'all have watched any of my videos, you know it's my absolute favorite thing to do. Now, we could do one of two things. We could use the bronzer that I used all over your lid, or we can use the blush. I personally want to use the blush because I want to show you how a little bit of color can look really good under the eyes. She says that she feels like if she did it, she would look like she had a black eye. And I'm here to tell her that's not the case at all. And anybody that's watching that may have like a fear of using shadow under the eye, this is for you too. I'm taking my Refer number 13 brush. I'm tapping it in that blush, tapping off the excess because you don't want all that to come off. And then I'm basically taking the tip of the brush, and that's kind of the width that I want it to be. And I'm going to go back and forth, super easy, under the eye. Okay? Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, and it wasn't that hard as I thought it was.
Right, and it doesn't look like you have a black eye. For brows, she says she does not do anything for brows, so we're going to she doesn't really need a ton, but I'm going to play with them just a little bit. I'm going to take my CoverGirl Soft Brown pencil, and I'm just going to go in these little areas that may need a little bit of filling in. I always fill in. If I'm making anything wider, I always do it from the top. I'm never going to bring down a pencil or a color down here because that's going to droop the eye. It's going to give the illusion of a like droopy eyelid, which is like what people get Botox to avoid, right? We don't want to do it with makeup, right? So she doesn't really need any width, but if she did, I would do it from the top, not the bottom. But I'm just taking very small strokes, and I added just a little bit, like maybe one hair stroke worth of the tail on the end. And then she's got a good starting point for her brow, and then I'm just going to kind of blend it with the spoolie as I go. This one over here needs a little bit more filling in, so I'm just going to kind of connect those 2 points of her brow. And if you notice, this brow over here, the arch is higher than this brow, right? Okay. I have so many people come to me for makeup lessons. They're like, how do I make them match? Sometimes you don't need to make them match, right? Yeah. I mean, it's how God made you. If I were to make a match, I would have to go way higher with this one. It would look very uneven and very crazy. And the first thing you would look at when you looked at her is her brows. That is not what we're going for. This is an everyday look. She doesn't need to change anything on her face, so we're not going to. We're just going to fill in. I feel like, I don't know, I kind of feel like our culture is teaching us that if it's not perfectly symmetrical, it needs to be changed. And I don't buy into that. Like, it just needs to be filled in a little bit, and that's it. And you keep it like it is otherwise. Let's do a little bit of mascara. I always have a collection of these little mini mascaras hanging around, so I'm going to just use this one on her and let her have it. This is one of my favorites from Lancome. It's the Monsieur Big or Mr. Big mascara. She's got really good lashes, and they're really even kind of curled. Like, do you even curl your lashes? She doesn't really need to curl her lashes. Curling lashes are not for everybody. Again, something I feel like people think they need to do no matter what. And a lot of people have nice curled lashes naturally, and it's just an extra step they don't need to do. So I'm going to load it up. I'm not going to show this part, but I like to use this little cover on my clients where I put it on their eye and then do it so that I don't get any mascara on their eye makeup that we just did, and then we'll be back for lips. Okay, for lips, we're going to stay neutral because, again, this is every day. I have never seen her in a bright lip. I'm not going to try to change that now. But I do want to use a little bit of a warmer color, but something that's easy for her to reapply throughout the day. So I'm going to start out with a lip liner, and this is Spice by MAC, and it is a warmer tone. It's going to go really good with the next product we use. I'm putting a little bit more, and then I'm just going to take a brush. You could do this with your fingers. And I'm just kind of smudging it up. I don't want a harsh line.
People used to do.
Yes, in the 90s. That really like brown lip liner with the super nude frosty lipstick. I did it.
I'm sure I did too.
Okay, and then I'm actually going to use a lip gloss because, again, I want something that's going to be easy for her to reapply. But this one is from NYX. It's the Butter Gloss, which I love. I carry quite a few of them in my kit. And this is Bit of Honey is the name of it. And these are very opaque glosses. It's not just a sheen, right? It's going to give color too. But I honestly, unless you are adamantly against a lip gloss, which I know a lot of people are, I love a gloss. The last thing I'm going to do is spray, and I'm going to set her with a Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. So this is it. This is the day-to-day neutral look that I hopefully was wanting.
Oh, yes.
That helped you out a little bit. I think everything that you were most concerned about looks really good.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I will see you next time. I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.